Michael Mann is making a sequel to his classic cops and robbers film Heat. It was initially released as a novel, co-written by Mann and Meg Gardiner, but now plans are firmly in place for the film version of Heat 2. In fact, Mann has posted an image on his Instagram account of him location scouting in Mexico. The big talking point of Heat 2 has always been the casting. The original film boasts the talents of Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Danny Trejo, Jon Voight and others, so the sequel has to live up to such an all-star cast and deliver one as equally impressive. And over the past few months, there has been an impressive roster of names attached to the project. Leonardo DiCaprio, Christian Bale, Adam Driver, Austin Butler and Bradley Cooper are all names that have been thrown around, and Bale and DiCaprio have actually confirmed their involvement in the film. The most recent name I've heard is Stephen Graham, a very versatile actor who you may know from Gangs of New York, This Is England, The Irishman or Boardwalk Empire, who I heard might be playing a younger version of De Niro's character. The next issue is of course who is playing who. I've made a few videos on the topic discussing actors as and when they're added to the project, and we now have had some interesting updates. The first is that the casting process is reportedly highly fluid, meaning that while we're sitting here discussing and arguing whether DiCaprio is up for the Neil McCauley role or Bale is up for the Hannah role, whatever, it's actually the case that actors are being considered for multiple roles at the same time, which means it now makes sense why the casting news has been all over the place since the film was announced. So it's likely that the actors have done auditions or read-throughs of most of the main characters, and they're still deciding who is best to play who. Nothing untoward there when you think about it. We've often heard stories of actors being up for one part in a film but ending up playing a completely different role. However, that being said, it does appear there are some lock-ins for different roles, according to Chris Tapley, a former journalist who apparently is in the know when it comes to Michael Mann. Christian Bale is set to play Vincent Hanna, the role played by Al Pacino in the original. This has been the most solid rumour ever since Bale said he was going to be filming in Chicago, because Vincent's scenes in the novel are predominantly based in Chicago. Jason Clarke has been added to the cast and is set to play Nate, the role played by Voight in the first film. Those are thought to be the only two roles that are settled. So who is DiCaprio playing? Well, at the moment, it doesn't look like anyone knows, Michael Mann included, because it has been reported that the filming of Heat 2 is dependent on DiCaprio's schedule, who has to decide whether to play Neil McCauley, that's De Niro's former role, or Chris Shiherlis, the late Val Kilmer's role. As of yet, he has not made his decision, and it's not a trivial choice, as Neil McCauley is not that much of a major character in the sequel. Chris, on the other hand, gets his own dedicated storyline, spanning numerous countries and locations, and with Mann planning a pretty chunky 6 or 7 month shoot, DiCaprio would play a large part of that if he takes the role of Chris. Apparently, DiCaprio is interested in both roles, it's just a matter of which he goes for and how many months of filming he wants to commit to. At the moment, he has either finished filming or is finishing up filming on Martin Scorsese's next film, What Happens at Night. And though we might say, well, what's DiCaprio waiting for? Why not go for the bigger role? When you think about it, he's only done 4 films in the last 10 years since he won the Oscar for The Revenant, and there's around a 2-year gap between them. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Don't Look Up, Killers of the Flower Moon, and one battle after another. If you ask me, I think, in a manner of speaking, he's taking it easy now that he's won the Academy Award he was chasing. And if you look at each of those 4 films, there was a clear reason he did each of them. His first chance to work with Tarantino, his first chance to work with Paul Thomas Anderson, a movie that aligns with activism he is invested in, and another partnership with Martin Scorsese, who he always prioritizes over everyone else. And the reason why DiCaprio is doing Heat 2 is simply that he's wanted to work with Michael Mann ever since they were both set to make a Howard Hughes picture decades ago. So the point I'm making here is that we might say, well, he should be going for Chris, of course, because that's far more of a prominent role. But maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's not that invested in the story or invested in acting in general. and just wants to add Michael Mann to the high-profile roster of directors he's worked with. It is thought that if DiCaprio goes for Neil, Adam Driver, who also wants to be in the movie and was initially tipped to play the younger Neil, would be given the role of Otis, a new character who is a leader of a gang of home invaders. So, who do you think DiCaprio should play? He does kind of look like Val Kilmer now, and it is the meteor role, but on the other hand, playing a young De Niro would be a culmination of a journey his career seems to have been on, playing De Niro's stepson in one movie, his nephew in another. He's often compared to the man. He replaced him as Scorsese's muse, and now playing the man's role himself. What is crucial, much as I am definitely not the biggest DiCaprio fan out there, as I have mentioned in previous videos, is that Leo does not straight up jump ship. Given his involvement is a big reason why the $200 million or so project got greenlit in the first place, and him bailing on the project could collapse it. Speaking of Bale, Christian Bale as Vincent Hanna. I don't know, man. It depends on how Mann is going to do it. Bale has the intensity, I guess, but he doesn't look anything like Al Pacino. Again, like I said, it depends how Mann wants to do it. If he wants these actors to really look like the actors from the first film, then you'd have to really admit Bale doesn't look anything like Pacino. But if it's just that he wants someone to be able to embody the character, then yeah, sure, Bale is a great actor. But Bale has already played a determined cop out to get a crook in a previous Michael Mann film, Public Enemies, and I thought he was pretty dry and boring in that, to be honest. Austin Butler has been a long-time rumour to play the role of Chris, which could work, seeing as though he looks a lot like Val Kilmer. But he is set to star in a reboot of Miami Vice, so you'd think he would be unavailable. I mean, best case scenario regarding him is that he could play the younger version of Chris and DiCaprio the older version. But I don't think that's going to happen. Austin Butler seems to have been just a very high-profile rumour. I don't think there was ever really any solid news about him being in this film. Of course, there is also the thing about big-name actors sharing screen time to consider. If Bale is playing Hanna, and he and DiCaprio are of course the biggest names in the film, never having worked together before, like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro before them in First Heat, I don't think he and DiCaprio will ever meet in the film. If DiCaprio plays Neil, they can't obviously, because they meet for the first time in the famous diner scene in Heat, and if DiCaprio plays Chris, though he will be in the film more, and there is one scene that Hanna and Chris would be in, if I remember correctly, they don't actually come face to face close enough to talk or interact. But that being said, Mann didn't know he'd have Leonardo DiCaprio and Christian Bale when he was writing the book. I'm sure if Bale is playing Hanna and DiCaprio is Chris, then he will write a scene to give them some interaction. And it might just be the one scene. I mean, after all, he didn't milk the whole De Niro-Pacino thing. They had just one real scene together in the original film. Going back to what Tapley was saying, he suggested the final casting will largely depend on the scheduling of all the actors and who's available when. The only real lock is Bale as Hanna. Austin Butler has seemingly disappeared from the picture. Adam Driver, bizarrely, might play Chris if DiCaprio goes for Neil and Driver doesn't get his originally intended role of Neil. And Stephen Graham's name is still in the mix, potentially as Otis Wardell if Driver ends up playing Chris and not Wardell. So, it's all a bit over the place still, but mainly because the filmmakers are awaiting DiCaprio's decision, and then they'll know which roles the other actors will be able to fill. If you want my thoughts, though I'm not exactly his biggest fan, if he has to be in the film, I can see Adam Driver playing a young Neil McCauley. He only appears in the prequel segment, so won't be in the film much, but he does have that longish face that De Niro has. I don't think DiCaprio should play Neil. Stephen Graham as Neil sounds mental. Great actor, but he's got a round face and a shorter, stockier stature. I could possibly see him as Michael Chirito, who Tom Sizemore originally played. But maybe him as Neil ends up being inspired casting. DiCaprio as the older Chris would work. He'd get a big role and he looks like him, but they'd have to do some good makeup, or dreaded de-aging, to get him to play the younger Chris in the flashbacks. And all of these guys could potentially knock it out of the park as the new character Otis, Graham in particular. This is what I would say, given who is in the mix. DiCaprio as the older Chris, Driver as Neil, Get Austin Butler in the film as the younger Chris, and let Graham go wild as Otis. But there are other actors not being considered that I might have added, like say Oscar Isaac in the Pacino role. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.